Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dominican Writers Authors Talk with Yakari Gabriel. Yakari is residing in Aruba, and I just thought that this would be a great opportunity to introduce you all to this amazing spoken word artist. Because I love her work and you should too. So I am going to tell you a little bit more about this young lady. Yakari was born in the Dominican Republic and immigrated to Aruba with her mother at the age of 4. She is a writer, an intersectional feminist and spoken word artist. Her writing revolves around life, social problems, finding self-love, femininity, and sadness. Yakari is the winner of the first Aruban Poetry Slam in Aruba. You go, girl. Arte di Palabra in 2009 and received the Hoben Talentoso recognition in 2014 in the category of writing. In 2015, she gave a TEDx presentation titled How I Overcame Discrimination. She recently started a column in the newspaper Bon Dia Aruba titled Den mi cabeza, which means in my head, in Papiamento.
Papiamento, yes.
Through Den mi cabeza, she expresses opinions about relevant and contemporary issues in the Aruban society. Welcome, Yakari.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. This is the first time I'm doing this Zoom thingy. I've seen everyone do it, but I haven't done it myself. I've just been working with like Insta video.
Bueno, ya tú sabes, te estamos poniendo adelante.
Yeah, it feels very fancy now. I belong.
So, Yakari, talk to us. You were talking to us about dealing with COVID. So, how have you been dealing with with all this as social distancing? And are you still going to school? Are you doing it remotely? Are you working remotely?
Well, I found out my lifestyle is called quarantine. I didn't know, because I only leave the house to get groceries. So yeah, it's definitely been hard in Aruba. And I think it's been really hard for me just seeing other people struggle, like people like my mom that, clean gyms and depend on selling food and all that stuff. So for them, it's been really hard. And I actually have been doing quite okay. I've been doing my astrology from home. I recently graduated, like last week. I finished my bachelor's in international media and communications. And yeah, it was a hassle because I had to go to Holland to finish it up. And then I managed to get out of there before the whole COVID situation. So I was like, wow, thank God, lucky, blessed, because otherwise I would have been stuck there,
right,
with no family, no nothing, just like die in there. But I made it out. And yeah, we take it one day at a time. I've been trying to help those around me. Like, thank God my astrology business is kind of thriving. So I've been able to help my mom, help myself, do the best we can.
That's great. That's wonderful. I wanted to start this meeting, this conversation with your TED Talk. So I am going to share that screen for everyone to watch your TED Talk. It's about 15 minutes. So let's see.
Well, that's really old. I know.
It was very, ¿cómo te digo? Oh my God, how do I explain this? It was just,
I was also very young when I did that. I think I was 20, 21. It was right before I left for Holland. It was like around April, May. And then I left for Holland in July. So it's like almost 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So can everyone see the YouTube screen? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to hit play. We're going to watch this for a few. Because I think it's very relevant. Even though it's old, I watched it and I was like, we need to talk about this because it's a topic that's never gonna go away. Espérate, let me.
Representando a todos mis latinos, manos arriba y canta conmigo. Oh, oh. Yes, you know, I think the audio is good, but it's gonna stop. From the Dominican Republic, I came here with my mother when I was 4. And when I speak English, a lot of people do not get the feel that I am a Latina because I do not talk like this. You see? Keychain, chicken, they are not the same thing. I do not have a sexy Latin accent like Sofia Vergara, you know what I mean? But it wasn't always like this. And it took me a very, very long time to let go of my shame of being a Latina because I grew up in a society where very sadly, Latinos are not truly welcomed. You know, I don't truly know when I first started grasping the concept of discrimination and xenophobia and leaving your country behind. But what I truly did understand, though, was the way Latinos were treated on the island and how badly I didn't want to be treated that way. When I realized that Latinos made people uncomfortable, in my mind, I created this narrative of how I was going to become as less Latina as possible. See, my first step was to polish the languages. And I don't think people truly understand how important language is and how ahead it sets you when you have good language. You know, growing up, I saw my mother being dehumanized and humiliated and belittled a lot simply because Spanish is all that she has. You know, and how do you stand up to somebody and fight for your rights if you cannot communicate, if they don't understand you? You know, I say, you know, a lot out of nerves. Dominicans, they have a very hard time assimilating. I think more than any other nationality in the world, I think Dominicanos, you can take them out of the Dominican Republic, but you cannot take the Dominican Republic out of them. So when it became obvious to my mother that I was integrating very well to the Aruban community, I don't think it said it well with her. You know, I think she felt betrayed. She felt empty. She felt a lot of things. You know, the other day I made her pancakes and she just looked at me. It's like, Yakari, ¿qué tú te has llegado a creer? ¿Tú crees que yo me voy a comer esa cosa dulce a las 8 de la mañana? Do I? Yakari, no, wait. She said it in Spanish. Yo parezco americana. Ah, se cree americana, esta pedazo de pupú, está bien. And I can give you a thousand examples of every time my mother just fires back with something because I either talk to her in Papiamento, I'm either singing or rapping in English inside of the house, or I am doing something that in a way, you know, gives the image that I am a Dominicana. Like, I don't straighten my hair. And you can hear her praying every day in the house. Ay, Jesús, mi hija parece una loca. Ella no se peina. Yakari, tú no tienes vergüenza de salir hacia la calle. ¿Qué van a decir de mí? Que yo tengo una hija loca. So, and that is basically my day-to-day life. And I pushed my Latin roots beneath my bed because I wanted to make a difference in this community.
Okay,
and I was very afraid that me being a Latina was constantly going to be seen across my face.
There they are.
You know, in conversations with my coworker, he told me, you know, Yakari, you are very, very lucky that your mother came to Aruba and she didn't go to the United States, because had you been in the United States, you would have been just another Latina living in the projects with 3 baby daddies by now. Now, I can keep an open mind at all times, and I can keep an open heart. But I cannot rewrite stereotypes that have been set for women like me. I cannot rewrite the history of Latinas. I cannot deny that Latinas do occupy a very big place in the prostitution market. I cannot deny that some of them are known as chapeadoras. I cannot deny that Dominicans party on a Monday and it's called Lunes de Contrabando and all of the beer are at half price. But to me, Dominican slangs no longer come as an insult because besides a label of a nationality, I have learned how to view myself as human. I think very personally that we have a lot of hate towards immigrants because they remind us of privilege we have and we are not using. Right now, there is a woman in the Dominican Republic in a village that probably has a way better mind than mine, that has way smarter things to tell you than me. And the only reason I am here and she isn't is because I have access and I got education and I got language. You know, I think we fail to realize how privileged we are as an island. In Aruba, you don't get one. You don't get two, you don't get three, you get 4 languages. There is not a place inside this world where they can put you that you would say, oh, I don't know how to get out of a situation because you have so much to work with. And it's a privilege a lot of people don't have. I think we resent immigrants because very often we sit on hands that they would use if they had the chance. And I hate to be the bearer of the bad news. And I hate to break this truth to you, but the same discrimination Latin children face here on the island is the very same discrimination Aruban children face when they go to Holland. It's the same discrimination you may face one day when you go abroad. You know, we like moving out of this mentality that I am in my homeland and it will never happen to me. That is not me in that situation, so that leaves me in a position to judge. You know, the other day there was this case with the Venezuelans who were standing outside of the Papiamento, and the post was on a news site, and it ended up on Facebook, like everything ends up on Facebook. And people were just going on and on in the comments. Put them in a banana boat, send them, let them all die. What are they doing here? We cannot solve their problems. Who do they think they are? They all need to die. And eventually, I was reading the post, and I thought to myself, do people truly realize they are talking about other people? Do you truly realize you are making comments on human lives and human beings who have feelings just like you? They are not animals, but we dehumanize immigrants because they remind us of our privilege. And I think that's what we are mad about, that we think they will come here and take up space that belongs to us, even if we're not using it. Now, I can fat lie about equality and tell you that everything is possible for everybody and just be all Walt Disney up in here and tell you to go follow all your dreams. But this is not the reality because not everything is possible for everybody. Very sadly, there is a huge, huge amount of inequality going on in this world. There is a huge cake, right? And there is a big bites, and there's a large group of people trying to survive off the leftovers. And that's how it is. In parts of this world, there are people who don't even have access to clean water. And I'll be damned if I have to stand here and tell you that everything is possible for everyone because it's not a truth. But what I do want to tell you though, is that as long as you are put in a position where you have privilege, where you have access, where you have education, where you have clean water, where you have all the means to better yourself, then by all means you should take them. And you shouldn't apologize for it. Damn right I'm a Latina. Damn right I have good English. And damn right the language doesn't belong to me, but I took it anyway. You know, people sell you a lot of lies about self-love. They tell you, oh, maybe if you just love yourself, nobody would treat you that way. And if you love yourself, that wouldn't happen to you. And if you would just give yourself your worth, nobody would do that to you. Well, listen to me, I think I'm cute. No, wait, I don't think I'm just cute. As a matter of fact, I think there is no word in the English language to describe how cute I am. But that doesn't stop the neighbor from coming in every day to my house and telling me and my hair look like a beaten poodle. And this is kind of how the system works. You know, you could be the sweetest, ripest peaches out there. And there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like peaches. The same way I could be the smartest, brightest, most beautiful Latina out there. I'd like to believe I am. But there is always going to be someone that won't like me. And the day we learn to see people beyond their stereotypes, the day we learn to see people beyond their labels and beyond their nationalities, it's the very same day we give people the freedom back to be who they are. You know, my mom, she always is saying, Yakari, cuatro manos pueden más que dos. It means two hands, it means four hands can do more than four. It means four hands can do more than two. Oh my God, these terms have me crazy. It means, yeah, it means four hands can do more than two. And you know, la necesidad tiene cara de perro, necessity has the face of a dog. And you never know who might be helping you up tomorrow. You never know that you might step right off this building and fall and trip and break your face, and who is there to help you just might happen to be someone of that one nationality you spoke badly about. And I want you to let this sink in. You never know who is out there to help you. But if you are too busy judging them, if you are too busy putting a stereotype on them, you don't give them the freedom to be who they are. You know, from every person in this room today, there is something I can learn. And if I say, oh, I'm not gonna speak to any of you because all of you are immigrants and all of you are dirty and all of you came here to eat all my food, then the one who is missing out on all the knowledge is me. Nobody else. Nobody else. And that is truly the message. And that is truly what I want to achieve with my talk. Simply call on people to give other human beings the chance to be who they are before you put them into a box, before you I lost my train of thought. Before you say things to hurt them, before you cast a stereotype on them, just give people a chance to be people. Because discrimination doesn't change for anybody. It is one feeling. It has one face. And unlike us, discrimination doesn't discriminate. How ironic is that? It's the same for everybody. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Wow, baby Jax. You look like such a baby there. Now I'm like old.
Mira. So the reason why I wanted to share that video with everyone is because I feel that your conversation is very relatable. You speak about, how we assimilate, Dominicans assimilating in different cultures. It's different when you come to New York because you're embraced by these bigger Dominican communities, right? Like when my mom came to this country in the 80s, my mom didn't have to learn English because she arrived into a Dominican community where everyone helped each other. The bodegueros, the barberos, la mujer en los salones, the doctors, everyone was Dominican. So there was no need for her. And to this day, in 40 plus years that my mother has in this country, she's never learned English. So I think it is an experience of our generation, how we assimilate. I came here when I was 3. So I am more Americanized than I am Dominican.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can imagine that at whatever age you arrived at Aruba, it was just easier for you.
Yeah.
At what age did you get to Aruba?
I think I was 4 going on 5 or 5 going on 6. I don't remember precisely, but I was very small. Yeah.
What brought your mother to Aruba?
Well, my aunt was here with her kids. And she would always come to Aruba back and forth on vacation porque la tía la mandaba traer. You know, she was very close to her sister. My aunt sadly passed away like almost 12 years ago. But what happened was that she was coming to Aruba all the time on vacation. And then one time me dejó con mi tío, and then I got papera. I got really sick.
Oh, wow.
And she told my aunt, like, well, Fela, my aunt was called Fela, si tú en el próximo viaje no le metes los papeles a Yakari, yo no puedo seguir viniendo porque yo no la voy a dejar. And I think that was it. And then, of course, she had to go through all the drama with my dad for the custody and saying, oh, I'm going to bring her back. But then we never went back. Duska scammer.
I swear that practically every Dominican person I know has a scandal in their family.
I swear to God, the deception.
We have some drama. We have some scandalous stuff that our parents definitely do not want us to share, but that we end up putting in books.
Yeah, so that's basically what happened. And she really wanted, by that time, my grandmother had passed away. Everyone had immigrated. So she just really wanted to be with her sister. And then again, along came me, and she's like, well, maybe there's something better for her there. And then we left. But it was mostly just so she could be with her sister and, you know, get out of the DR. It's not like she was having a really hard time. My mom was really, well, she still is like, she's like la dama del barrio, you know, like everyone thinks like she's a big deal. Like, I don't understand. But she just wanted out. She wanted to move away from my grandfather and see something new. And then my aunt pulled her to Aruba, and thank God, you know, it's been pretty decent being here. People think I live in the Bahamas. I'm like, it's not the Bahamas. Not every Caribbean island is the Bahamas or Jamaica and stuff.
Right, but it's still an island, you know. So it's still warm weather. She came from warm weather. She came from beautiful beaches. And she just transferred herself to you know, another beautiful island.
Yeah, the only thing is though is that Aruba is way safer than the barrio we used to live in the DR. Like, I'm from Sabana Perdida, La Vega, por ahí.
Got it.
And, you know, it's really like criminality, violence, it's really bad over there. So Aruba is like, you can sleep with the windows open, sleep with the door open, leave your car parked. It's like the safest place around. Yeah, wow. It's really expensive to live here, but I think the safety really does compensate for it. You ain't gotta worry about nothing.
That's wonderful. Let's talk about your book.
Oh, it's here. Lo tengo, mi hijo.
It's a few years old. How many years is it now?
I think it's 3.
3 years?
I released it in November 2017.
And you have these beautiful pictures of family.
Oh yeah, I had to.
You have these images, these black and white images in the book that are just wonderful. Who did the images?
Those were made by an Arubian girl that used to go to school with me. Her name is Josiane Coutinho. And Josie, one day, she's like, you know, because she's studying to do arts and graphic design. And then one day she's like, you know, Yakari, I had a, she's like this, she's very shy. She's like, I had an assignment for my art class, and I had to illustrate some words, and I chose one of your poems. And, you know, it's quite a few months back, but I finally found the courage to tell you. And she had picked like this very heterosexual poem that I wrote, and she painted it in the most beautiful way ever. And I was like, holy shit, you need to illustrate.
Did she think that you were gonna feel offended that you chose that she chose one of your pieces?
I don't know. I do think some people find me a little intimate. I get that a lot, but it's also, I think it relates more like she knowing me from the past, and then, you know, I think she was kind of shy about it.
There's
Because
also a picture of you and your mama fregando.
siempre, esa es mi vida.
Beautiful. I am so sorry, but you could relate because I have a dog. You have 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those things that belong to him.
My dog is not, he wants attention right now. But I wanted to speak a little about your acknowledgments. You say that this book is written for women, for the immigrant, for the daughter, for the hedonist. This is how they came together. I wasn't going to publish. I didn't want strangers holding me in their lap. I did not want to trust them with all of this intimacy. Yet here I am, swallowing my pride like I often do. It seems like you were dealing with some type of imposter syndrome, and you said, "Pal diablo con eso, I need to put this book out."
Yeah, it could be, yes. But I also like, you know, I'm like a walking contradiction in which like I want attention for my work, but then when I get it, it's like, you're not supposed to know me like that. Like, like, you know, like, don't read my poems next to me. Go somewhere far away from me and read them. You know, like I feel naked.
I totally understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I often speak to writers about whenever we're going to publish a writer, I have to have a conversation with them about vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Like this is once you put your book out to the world, this is the moment that you're going to be the most vulnerable. You're no longer sitting at home in your own private space writing these words. Now they're in a book, and many people are reading them, and they are judging, and they have an opinion, and they're applauding, and some of them are hating on you, and they got questions, and they also want to question what you've written, and they also want to invalidate what you've written. And it's a very, how do I say this? The process of getting used to that is not very easy. So
no, I totally had a mental breakdown after cold coffee. I totally had a mental breakdown. I shaved off all my hair. I wanted to, like, I remember I did the book release in Holland, and then my friend Maria made one for me in Aruba. And I was like, in Holland it was easy because it was a whole bunch of strangers.
yeah,
but then in Aruba, everyone would know me, and all the people I went to school with, I'm like, Maria, yo no quiero esto, yo no te pedí esto. And she's like, no, listen, we're throwing you a book release party, you just have to arrive, I'll do everything. And this was man. I was like, okay. But then everyone came, like people I hadn't seen in years, and I was like, I know. Just
I can totally relate, because when I published my book, I didn't tell any of my family members. Mm-hmm. They found out. How did they find out? I think they found out because a box of books was shipped to my mother. Mm-hmm. Because I used to send all my shipment there, but my mother never opened my mail. But this one day, my brother opened the box, and he's like, "What is this? The person on the cover looks just like you. You wrote a book?" And then he took a copy, and then he told his wife, and she came and grabbed the copy. And I'm just like, I felt like, devuélvame eso, por favor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is not for you. I put this out to the world, but it's like you put it out to the world, and you know that it's gonna be read. It's a book, right? Yeah. But then it's just like, you don't want your people to read it. You want strangers.
Yeah, and it's also exactly why I feel so vulnerable, you know, writing in Spanish, because me and my mom had, you know, we have a very, you know, like tumultuous relationship. It's like a hurricane, me and her. And I remember as a teenager, I really started writing to hide from her, you know, to have a place to put my feelings, because everything was so chaotic at home. Wow. And then what I would do is I would hide behind the English language, because I was like, well, if she finds them, she cannot read it anyway. So, you know, I still to this day, I do write here and there in Spanish, but it's still a barrier I'm working to break, because I have this thing with my mom where it's like, you know, I don't want you to know me like that. There's some healing to do there. And I feel very vulnerable with the Latin American community. I feel like yo no entiendo qué me pasa. But it's like I find it very easy to just hide behind, even if I express myself more beautiful in Papiamento, because that's the language I grew up in. Even if I write more beautifully in Spanish, I'm still like hiding behind the English. I'm like, "Aquí ustedes no me pueden ver," you know. But now it really got fucked up because somebody gave my mom Facebook,
Oh.
and now she just
Hey,
does it.
now you can't post your opinions like you usually do.
No, she pressed the thing, see translation.
Oh my God.
Oh, she cracked the code.
Do you also write in Papiamento?
Yes,
That's
it
the
was the
question.
very first language I wrote in, actually. But then the things in Papiamento are not really like, like the things in English. Like the poetry slam that I won when I was 15, it was a poem called Mi quiero papia cu vida, Le quiero hablar a la vida. And it was really like just me questioning life, like, why are you like this and why do you do this? And then it ended with me saying, that I just have to learn to love life and accept her. What did I know about accepting life at 15?
You were having an existential crisis at 15?
Yeah, I think my whole life is an existential crisis. you know, but I do most.
You and I have a lot of things in common, because I also started writing to hide from things that were happening in my home, and it was sort of like, the page was the place where I would express myself and just let go of everything that was heavy on me. What brought you to then decide to publish those words, to create this book?
Well, this have been, because weird things always happen to me. And I know, like, this is something anyone can say, but weird things happen to me all the time. Like, one time I was at a beach I had like a dog and she had puppies. And I went to the beach to one of the puppies, and then a tourist ending up adopting the puppy. And then she sent me a whole bunch of money to get the dog fixed. And I was like a teenager. And my life has always worked like that. Like, there's always a stranger coming in with some miracle. And when my first year in Holland, I met this man called Jean Belegarde, and he's Haitian. And apparently he had worked with other Aruban artists. And I was like, but I've never seen you. Like, where did you come from? This is the type of people that, like, their Facebook profile is like a cartoon. And I was like, but where's your face? Like, are you a creep or something? I don't understand. And we met my very first year in Holland, and we talked, and he was like, yeah, well, we have a family fund, and I use it to help Caribbean artists, and a lot of people have sent me your work, and, let me know, because you'll own all your rights, you won't have to pay me. And he actually wants like a trilogy, because Cold Coffee was meant to be really thick. It was meant to be almost 80 poems. And he was like, no, we'll split it in two. You'll do 40 this time and 40 the next one. So the next one is already ready. The illustrations, everything. We just have to register it so volume 2 can come out. But it happened very weird. It was like just this man came into my life, and then he was like, I want to publish you. And I have it written in paper that he doesn't want any of my profit. All the author's rights are mine. I don't need to share my profit with nobody. It was really weird. Like, who does that? And then the next one is also like, it's gonna happen like that. This gonna be published. I don't know when. And then the third one is the Caribbean novel, but that one is really like a book deal. Like, we're gonna work on an advance. We're gonna work on publishing rights and yada yada. So I don't know when that's gonna happen though. I hear you. I don't hear you.
I think, yeah, because I muted myself because of the background noise. I think that's wonderful that you started, you published with this small press, and you still have the dreams of publishing and getting that book deal. I think that's many of our dreams. but you do know, you know, it's hard work. I don't know how it works in Aruba. Like, do you have literary agents? Like,
Well,
do you have to?
We do have Unoka, but I haven't worked with them. But from what I've heard, like it's really tough, you know, because they're like a nonprofit or something like that. They're funded by the government. So they basically own everything. And then you get like a few books to sell yourself.
No.
And if at some point, if they decide, oh, we're not going to print a second edition, then you don't get it.
So my advice would be to work with literary agents in the US.
Yeah. No, but I really have to go to New York. I was checking my astrology and my Venus line is crossing Nueva York. And I'm telling you, there's something about that city. And I know it sounds really
We're here, that's what.
I mean, I know it sounds really
If you live in New York, if you come to Washington Heights, you're not gonna leave.
I know. There was one time. So I traveled a lot when I was studying in Holland, and I went to a lot of cities, but I hated Europe. So, and then I traveled a little bit in the Caribbean. But there was one time that we had an overlay of almost 20 hours in New York, and that was before I got into astrology. Because there's something called astro travel, where based on the planetary placement, you can see, you know, which cities would fit you best.
What?
Yes, of course, girl. I'm gonna hook you up. Anywho.
We actually have an astrology workshop that a friend of mine is teaching on Saturday.
Okay, I'm gonna join.
So she's really into it. So if you go on our website and look under writing workshops, you'll see her workshop there. But yeah, I'm not too into astrology. I'm always like, what? Like,
yeah, well, but let me tell you. So yeah, we had like the overlay in New York for like 20 hours, and we were a big group of students, and we're like, we're gonna fuck shit up. We're gonna go to Times Square. And it was like the madrugada, right? So we took like a raggedy ass bus, all of us together, and we went to walk in Times Square and eat like the pizzas, like the girls in Sex and the City. And till this day, no lover, no dog, no one in this world has made me feel what I felt when I was in New York City. And it was both times, because I had to overlay one time in July and one time in December. And it's like my heart, it was just, I don't know, like even seeing like Queens on a, you know, and knowing Nicki Minaj is from there, I was like, but it's like el corazón se me puso grande, you know, like I was just there, like my heart was bursting. Like I've never felt that feeling, and I've never forgotten that feeling. And I think it really felt like destiny some way or the other. And I know that there's something I have to go do in that city. I don't know what, but till this day, I'm still waiting for someone or something to make me feel the way New York City
well, Yakari, my home is always open to artists, and I do have an extra bed.
I'm on my way.
So whenever you want to buy that plane ticket, just be like, Angie, voy para allá. Because, you know, friends that come from DR, artists who come to DR, they always come and they stay here for a week or two.
And I have a lot of family
and then they go back. So my doors are open for you.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, why did you name this book Cold Coffee?
Well, it's very simple. I don't have any deep explanation. It's no metaphor. It's no nothing. I literally make my coffee and then I get busy writing and the coffee goes cold. And then I cannot drink it because it's cold coffee and I don't drink cold coffee. That's literally it.
So you decided one day your coffee went cold and you were like, that's the title of the book.
Yeah, because anytime you kind of get lost in your own writing. So I like to write in the mornings, and then I make my coffee, and then I get lost fixing a poem. And by the time I want to tend to the coffee again, the coffee is cold, and that's literally what happens.
So, are you an avid writer?
How so?
Do you write constantly? Do you take long breaks? You mentioned that you did finish volume 2 of Cold Coffee and that now you're working on a novel.
Well, my novel is like 6 pages in, I think. And it's called actually, I was thinking of calling it Pang de Gali, which is literally like garlic bread, but my mom and my aunt couldn't pronounce it. So they were always like, te traje pan de gali. And yeah, it's just, there's weeks when I'm a little depleted, especially now with all these astrology readings. My energy is like very low. But I write every day, even if it's like a short poem, even if it's 2 phrases. I'm always like in writing mode. Like in this conversation, there's like 4 things already that's like, you know, in the back of my head, you know, there's something writing over there. So it's like it's never switched up.
Do you have a writing routine?
No, I don't.
You just write whenever it comes to you?
Yeah, I think, and I mostly write in the notes in my phone.
I'm like that. I'm like that as well. So Jeanette Gittins, who is watching this conversation, wants to ask you, what literary circles have you joined? How, and in Aruba, if any? And I think you answered the question about how you got started, you know, writing.
Yeah, well, in Aruba, there is this thing called Di Arte, and it's like this summer program that is sponsored by the government, and a lot of underprivileged kids go there, and they do poetry and theater, and it has really like become like a community, even though a lot of us are grown, a lot of them are in Holland. But that was like my very first introduction to kind of having a little art community. And then Maria Silva, who's someone I met like when I turned 19, I think. It turns out she had been running a poetry night in Aruba for the past 20 years and no one had known about it. And Maria, she's such a sweetheart. She's like, when I started this, no one would show up. And I said, even if there's one person who came to hear poems, well, that person is gonna hear poems. And it was once a month at a restaurant called Cuba's Cooking. And then I joined and I brought more people and then I left for Holland, but the people kept coming. And it really turned into a community of poets. And we have like a grandma poet who's like 70, Lady Ruth. And we have like a really young girl who actually has autism, but she is so amazing. She has bloomed so much. She's like 14, I think. So it is multi-generational. And there's like poetry nights once a week in Aruba. But now with the coronavirus, they're trying like to do, you know, things online. And then what they do is like they always pick like these abandoned places in the island. And then, you know, they get some funding to put a little mic and a speaker, and then everyone joins. So that is kind of the community I have here.
Got it. What are you reading now? Are you
reading astrology? I read a lot of astrology, but I also read a lot of Elizabeth Velasquez. I also read a lot of Jessica Salgado. Who else was I reading the other day? I'm really trying to read like some classics, you know, just to not say I'm an uncultured swine. But I have a very short attention span. So it's like I do better just reading poems than, you know, sitting down and reading a whole book. It's been a while.
Have you read any Dominican writers? You
Mm.
haven't read Elizabeth Acevedo?
I follow her. I hear her poetry. I just haven't purchased her book. And there was someone who was in love with me who was going to purchase it for me. But then this person was like a little toxic and I had to cut them off. I'm like, I don't think this is all right. But the thing is, when I was in Holland, I would order a lot of books, but then in Aruba, it became difficult. But I have a few on the list that I really need to read. Yeah, and I do try though to follow a lot of Dominican writers on Instagram. And I recently got the one from Melania Luisa. Yeah, so I started reading her too.
Her book is amazing.
I'm in love. Yeah, look, I'm lying on myself because Para Cenar Habrá Nostalgia is one of my favorite books in the world. Like it opened my heart when I read it.
We're doing a conversation with Fior on Saturday via Instagram Live.
Okay.
So if you want to, it's at 1:00 Eastern time. And she'll be joining us to do a reading. And speaking of readings, would you mind doing a reading of one of your poems, of a few poems for us? Or maybe a spoken word performance if you remember,
Let me see if I remember Complete Woman. I feel like I'm always trapped doing Complete Woman, and I didn't put it in the book. And you know, Complete Woman is the poem that opened all the doors to everything I do
You
now.
should put it in volume 2.
Yeah, I think, yeah. It's called, let me see if I remember it. But anyone who has seen me anywhere has heard this poem. I'm tired of it.
I haven't heard it.
Leave me alone, poem.
I haven't heard it, and there might be people on here who are meeting you for the first time and who have not heard it.
So let me see if I remember it. When I was 13, I knew nothing about life except that I did not want it. With 14, I described love as something that did not exist. And by 15, I was completely convinced that every wrong thing that ever happened to me was someone else's fault. I always heard people mumble that little girls always end up marrying men that resemble their fathers. And I sat in a corner and I asked myself if that ever meant that I'd marry absence. And I was always questioning my name. Why was it so difficult to pronounce? Why did it struggle to make a soft slide in someone else's mouth? Why it wasn't something soft like a Sophia or a Veronica? But everything in my life was complicated. It was Yakari, and it weighed heavy like an arranged marriage, and sadness was someone I had a deep friendship with. And I wanted to have another name, and I wanted to be another woman, and I wanted to be skinnier and prettier and perfect. But I woke up, how does it go? Shit, I fucked it up. I wanted to be prettier and skinnier and perfect. And my broken heart belonged to my mother. I inherited from her like a house. I was a kid that did not believe in salvation. I would go to bed every night without praying, without telling God, sorry that I've been cruel to people today. I'll try better tomorrow. I didn't believe in being kind to people simply because life was never kind to me. But I woke up one day and I wanted to change my karma. And I thought, well, if life herself is already cruel, then why must I imitate her? See, I woke up one day with this immense desire to change the world, but I had to start with myself. So I stood in front of that mirror and I stripped off my arrogance. And I understood that if 4 languages I could dominate, and 4 languages poetry I could create with 4 times more people than the average, I could communicate. Nowadays, I carry my mistakes like those weapons that made of me a complete woman. Nowadays, everything that escapes my mouth sounds like a poem, and I'm not cruel anymore. See, I woke up one day and I did what I had to do. And if I broke free from all of that darkness, that I am certain that you can do it too. See, I am Yakari Gabriel. And Yakari, it derives from the Hebrew term Jakar. And it means something dear, something precious, and something expensive. And I no longer make apologies for the way they can get it right.
Nice. Yes. Now, if you can, I was going to ask you, because your name is super Dominican. I said, whose name did your parents mix together to get to Yakari? Was it your dad and your mother's name? Because
no.
Too.
No. Escucha. My mom and my dad, those scammers, they had a deal. If I was a boy, my father would name me. And if I was a girl, my mom would name me. And my mom had picked out the name of my grandmother. Imagine, Inocencia.
Oh my.
Can you imagine? And then she was like, she was between Inocencia and Gabriela. And then she's like, no, I cannot call her Gabriela because then that would be Gabriela Gabriel. And I'm like, but that was the best. Why didn't you do it? Like, that's so artistic. Gabriela Gabriel. I would go by Gigi.
Oh my God. De que inocencia.
Mátame. So, no, and then the day I was born, apparently there was like this thing in the newspaper with someone called Yakari. And my dad was like, I like that. Let's name her that. Ito me gusta. Ella se va a llamar Yakari. And I was like, okay. But people would butcher my name all the time. I don't know. And my aunt would just call me Jackie. And then I kind of grew up and no one calls me Jackie anymore. They call me Jax. But
wow. They still don't get Yakari correct.
No, and it's very funny though, because when I went to Holland, all the Dutch people could say it right. It was so easy to them, Yakari. Like,
but Dominicans are never gonna call you by your name. We give you apodos. We make up our own names. Like that name could very well be on a birth certificate, but we're gonna call you what we want to call you. Fea, morena, rubia.
No. And people have done everything to my name. No, there was this woman, she even dropped the I. She decided Yakari was too much. It's like, Yakar. And I'm like, it's not fucking Yakar, it's Yakari. And my mom had this Venezuelan friend, and you know, like these religious people, how they are, like anytime they see you, ay, mija, Dios te bendiga, como tú estás, right? And how she took Yakari and make it fucking Karelis, I do not know. But that woman, she calls me Karelis. Say, hi, mi Karelis, tú si ta grande. Like, how do you think? God. No, Shakira. Yakaira,
let me let you do a reading or two of one of the pieces in your book, and then you could tell folks where they could find you on social media and how they can go about purchasing your book.
Okay.
So what pieces do you want to read?
I need to read them?
Yes, I'm not reading them. You're the writer.
I know, pero qué cosa. I'm going to read the one about the moon because soy astróloga ahora.
You do you.
So this one is called The Moon, and it's about basically, you know, seeing someone's worth even when they don't see it. So that's what it's about. So it goes like this. Perhaps you look in the mirror and only notice the holes, the cracks, the broken door someone left behind when they forced their way out. But I look at you and I see the light that came in through all those open spaces. My love, from where I am standing, you look like the moon. So yeah. They're very short pieces. I don't know if I should like read a longer one.
Read another one.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna read, this one is called Comfortable. People tell you, wow, look at that beauties. Okay. People tell you to embrace the set, to let it run its course. They rarely warn you about the possibility of it getting comfortable with you, of it warming you up in bed at night. So much you sit at home waiting for it to come back. So much you go looking for it when it takes too long to arrive.
Thank you for that. Could you tell folks how they could go about purchasing your book?
Well, you know, you can give Jeff Bezos all my money if you really want the no, it's okay.
No,
if you really
not Jeff Bezos.
If you really want the physical copy, you know, because some people do really want it. I cannot ship from Aruba right now, so you can get it through Amazon, Cold Coffee by Yakari Gabriel, like my name is written there. Or I can send you the ebook as a PDF, or actually an ebook format, and you'll just have an ebook app where you can open it. And
how can people purchase the ebook?
Yeah, you can just message me via Instagram or Facebook, search my name, and then just send me a message, and it's like $7. You can PayPal me $7, and then I'll send you the ebook version of the book.
Wonderful. So Epifania Gallina wants to know, do you know of any literary events that happen during the summer in Aruba? Like, would tourists be able to know?
Well, the thing is, we have to see what's going to happen with the borders in Aruba, and how, you know, what rules are going to be implemented regarding social gatherings, because sometimes poetry nights are very packed, and there's also something called, what is the name? Wait, what is the name of that festival in Renaissance? Sorry? What is the name of the festival in Renaissance for the tourists? The one at the Willem de Toren. It takes place every Tuesday. What are you talking about? It is the event. Well, there's an event that takes place every Tuesday in Aruba at the Renaissance Mall, and it's like a cultural night, and it's festival. I lost the name now. But it's basically for tourists, and then they do a little bit of everything. They do a little bit of poetry, they do a little bit of carnival, barangay, and all our national like holidays. And yeah, the poetry nights, you can check Basha Foundation, which is Maria's foundation for the poetry. BASHA, Basha Foundation. And yeah, mostly, you know, the tourists, the minute they get to Aruba, they get brochures about everything there is to do.
I forgot to ask you, because we have a bunch of new writers in this conversation. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting their writing career?
Well, I think before you can become a good writer, you must be a good reader. And you know, reading, especially when you're struggling with writer's block or when you feel like you cannot write, read, because it will open up your imagination. You know, so before you are a good writer, you must be a good reader. Read whatever you can. Lea la receta on the pancake box. You know, because I know it sounds like a little, you know, oh, you know, this is something everyone says, but it really triggers something, you know? It really triggers something. You know, I had like this little advantage when I was like 11, 12, 13. I had already joined the poetry community. And we would do and at that time, I didn't even know I was working on a potential writing career. But we would do all these challenges and all these prompts. And I spent my teens like, write a poem based on a song title. You know, you can give yourself like little challenges like that. Write a poem without using the word I.
Yeah.
Describe something without using color. All of those things. And I spent all my teen years doing that. And I think when I look back at belonging to that online community, poemsandquotes.com, as a beginner, yes, my poems were really bad, horrible. Some shit in there that if I release them these days, like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, they're so problematic. You know, I had like even a poem called like A Child of the Streets. And I'm like, tu nunca te en la calle un día en tu vida. But it was, you know, a way to challenge myself and, you know, scenarios, write about people. You know, someone is passing you, make a story about them in your head. Ask them questions. I think that helps a lot.
Is that how you deal with writer's block?
Yeah, I think, and I try to read as much as possible when I'm having a creative blockage, but music helps me a lot too. You know, sometimes I like, you know, you hear El Gran Barón, you hear Pedro Navaja, you know, like that brilliant storytelling, and you're like, coño, this is where I want to get, you know, because there's songs like, even Shanae Aiko, I think, you know, it's just, there's songs that are so poetic, and there's songs that you can tell they were written to be hits, and then there's songs who is just like someone wrote a poem and put a melody to it. Yeah. And I think listening to music helps a lot too.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Yakari?
Pregúntenme, que aquí estoy. Enjoy. They can ask about astrology if they want.
Feel free to show your video if you don't mind coming on camera. We are recording this conversation, but feel free to come on and ask her a question. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Yakari. Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
¿Cómo está?
Bien. Wow. We all look so Dominican. We're all cousins. Mi prima.
Una pregunta. I really like that advice of to read, right? You need to be a reader before you're a writer, right? So I'm like I'm a pretty new writer.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Who are some of your favorite writers? I mean, some of your favorite authors, like those are like your go-to writers that you read.
Worcestershire, Mátame. I think I would die if I would ever meet Worcestershire. Warsang, W-A-R-S. That's the girl who wrote Lemonade along with Beyonce. You know, all the
she's a poet.
Yes, that is
I think
Worcestershire.
she's British, right? She's British?
No, she's from Somalia, but she grew up in London.
Okay.
Worcestershire is, I quoted her in my poetry book. I love her work. Love it.
It's not normal. I need to see her natal chart because what is it the stars about her talent? I do not understand how she is. I know all her poetry by heart. It's not normal.
Keisha, if you're comfortable with turning on your video, go ahead and ask your question.
Keisha is local. She's my fellow actor. She's like the only local person I've seen here. Yeah, hello. I see you.
Come on.
Alicia Harris.
Yes, hi. I'm sorry. I'm trying to start my video, but it's saying that the host has stopped it. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you should be able to start it because I stopped Marilyn's, but she was able to turn hers back on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but
sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, Yakari, I'm so glad for this conversation. It was interesting. I got the invitation to this from two of my Dominican academic friends, and they're like, yeah, there's this girl, she's from Aruba and Dominican, and you should. I was like, okay, great. So, okay, so my main question is about language, because I do research on language, and I'm not a writer, but I am, I do a lot of anthropological work.
Okay.
And, what really struck me is the things that you were talking about, like in your TED talk, and it was reminding me about this idea of how language works in Aruba. Especially like, ikos ng kupotobisa na Aruba tocante immigrante nang, it's like that's in-house, we don't like to talk about that outside. We like to pretend that we're all racially harmonious,
Yeah.
So I was wondering, in terms of your writing, how does language speak to you in those tones? So when do you not necessarily choose to write in a specific language? Because I mean, knowing you grew up with Papiamento, Spanish, English, Dutch. How does that even all together, how does it come for you when you're figuring of writing a poem or writing something? Is it just like coming to you in English, or is it coming to you in Papiamento, or is it coming to you in two or more languages? And how does that work for you?
Well, I think my most vulnerable work, most definitely when I am the saddest, when I am the loneliest, I write in Papiamento. I think out of a desire of wanting to be understood by certain people. But the thing is, and this is what I think is fucked up in a way when you start getting an audience, is that you can say, oh, I say what I want, I don't care. But somewhere deep down you do. And something I do is like I analyze my audience, but then I also studied mass communication. So it's like, what's going to work on Facebook? What's going to work on Instagram? Because I already stepped out of just wanting to express myself. I'm really at the point where I want to make a living with my writing. So of course I've become a little more manipulative with what I choose to share and what I don't. But I do think, yes, when I am, the truest to myself, what I am the absolutely most vulnerable, I do choose Papiamento because it's the language that is the most intimate to me. And Papiamento is also genuinely to me, one of the most beautiful languages in the world. It is so soft. It is so colorful. Like the things you can do in Papiamento, you cannot do it in Spanish or English. You cannot. No, say, bueno por, visa mi estimado, dushi.
Yeah.
Love you, sweetheart. You cannot say that and make it sound that way in English. Even Complete Woman was an original Papiamento poem. And that's why it was so profound. And then I translated it to English. And yes, it reached a bigger audience, but that poem, and you can see in the way that it's written, it's very different from my other work.
Right.
It's also something that was way longer. Like I never write such long pieces. But because I was so at home in the language, I did it. So I think it depends a lot on how I personally feel.
Yeah, I know that that's an issue for many of our writers and even entertainers on the islands, because not just for Aruba, but for Curacao and Bonaire as well, you know, we're such small islands, nobody really knows Papiamento, so it's like, you know, we have people like Jayon who go the Spanish route, you know,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna start writing my songs and lyrics in Spanish because I'm trying to get that larger audience. And then you have others who are like, maybe if I just do it in English. So I was really interested in how you sort of play with those languages. Because I mean, we even have people like, you know, Iselin Calister, who chose to stay in Papiamento, you know, but she also has a very specific niche that
Yes,
works
yes.
well for her outside of, you know, whether to want to be in a bigger world. So yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, and for those who don't know, Iselin Calister, she's like our local Sade, I would say. You know, the girl who sings Sweetest Taboo, like Iselin is like that, but in Papiamento, and she traveled the world singing Papiamento, and it got to the point where her music is so beautiful, where even if you cannot understand her, you'll feel her, and it's just, yeah. And if you know Spanish, I think understanding Papiamento is quite easy because they are very similar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think someone else wants to write a question, but I don't know how to word this. Like, I think it's Julissa.
Julissa, if you'd like to turn on your video, you could go ahead and ask your question. Or unmute yourself, whichever you prefer.
Hi.
Hi, Julissa.
Wow.
Hi, I'm in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
Hi.
Tell me.
Are you in the Dominican Community Hub?
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm like, everyone looks so Dominican. I'm like, wow. Like, con mi gente.
Dominican.
It's like the Dominican women, we just have a face. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's like cargamos la bandera en la frente. I don't understand.
So my question is surrounding like
Wait, it got stuck.
how people tend to. I had a call. So I was wondering what advice you would give to someone who is embarrassed, like myself, who's just like embarrassed of errors that would come up in the writing, or like the writing not being good enough.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, it's something that we all have in the beginning. You know, there's poems that I look back and I'm so embarrassed about them. Like, no one can know that I wrote this because it's so bad. But it's like the more you write, the better you get. So if you think it's not good enough, just keep going. And if I was you, I would find one or two people, you know, just to offer you some perspective. Because sometimes
you need to join our writing workshops.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, sometimes we are our own worst critics, you know, and maybe you are super harsh on yourself and super critical. And what I've learned also, because I mean, I follow a lot of talented people, and sometimes I read my poetry and I read theirs, and it does get to me. I'm like, coño, pero yo no escribo como Elizabeth Velázquez. And it's like, okay, Yakari, but Elizabeth is like, she is very well 10 years your senior. She's had her journey. Maybe by the time you're her age, you'll get there too. You know, so it's also like,
as writers, we're always questioning ourselves. Like, it's never good enough. Trust me that people who are already published are thinking about, oh my God, maybe I should have put that into the book.
Yeah, and it's like
us. We're constantly correcting ourselves, but you know, it's about working on your craft, having a group of people that would read your work, workshopping your work, right? And not being afraid of putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and then also, like, you know, compare your new work to your old work, you know, because sometimes we don't even know how far we've come until we look back. Like, I was literally the person that would rhyme hard and apart, you know, and mine and time. And now I don't even write rhymes anymore, because that's also a thing, like thinking you have to rhyme for it to sound nice and for it to be good. And, you know, it's just keep going. If you don't think it's good enough, keep going. Don't let the insecurity, use the insecurity as the drive to do better.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you so much.
Julissa, we have a WhatsApp group for emerging writers that encourage each other all the time to write. And these women host their writing workshops every Sunday morning. And they are just women like you who are now starting to write, who want to learn, who want to do more. And they have now offered this workshop for free to whoever wants to join. It's every Sunday. All of our writing workshops are on our website on dominicanwriters.com. Just hit on the writers tab and you could register for them, and they're all online. So you could, te puedes sentar en tu patio y coger el writing workshop. You don't need to come to New York for them.
Okay, thank you all so much. I will definitely be following up.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else? Epifania se fue, but she said that she hopes that we recorded this because she wants to finish seeing the remainder of the conversation. Yeah, I don't think we have anything.
If no one has anything else to ask, do you have anything else to ask, Angie? What is your rising sign?
I'm a Taurus. I was born April 27th. I don't know what time. No sé qué más.
Well, we can rectify it using a little calculator based on life events, because certain, Venus would have to be a certain place for you to conceive. Venus will be a certain place when you get the child. Venus, Jupiter crosses certain houses when people get married. So everything, you can always trace it back. So we do have to know your things.
I guess I'm gonna find out on Saturday on the astrology class that my friend is offering. So follow her Instagram. It's called Writing Orbit, and she uses astrology to write.
Yes, that's the best.
So that
astrology.
That might really interest you. The Instagram account is Writing Orbit. But I don't think I have any questions for you. I've been following you for a while now and talk about your dogs, and I comment on a lot of your Instagram stuff. So I feel like I kind of like know you.
Yeah,
But I wanted the remainder of our audience who follow the Dominican Writers platform to learn about you, because that's the focus of the work that we do, that everybody gets to know each other and see how many amazing and wonderful Dominican writers we have all over the world. Because when I found out that, when I found you, you were in Holland, and I'm like, ¿y qué hace esta tipa en Holland?
Yeah, and it's like, Aruba is a colony of the Dutch.
Dominicans are everywhere. We are everywhere.
Yeah, for
We're
real.
Everywhere. And
I went all the way to Madrid to have Dominican food because Holland didn't have any. But in Madrid, ahí estaba, con la yuca y el chicharrón.
How long was that trip?
Madrid, it wasn't that we went by plane. It wasn't that much, an hour and a half.
You took an airplane to get chicharrón.
Well, not necessarily. I was just going to Spain, but then I found a restaurant and we almost got lost. We were like 3 hours on a hunt for Dominican food because in Holland, there's like one restaurant in Rotterdam.
I don't remember what we were doing, that we were talking about how food is such an important part of our culture. And we feel at home with food. Like your mother rechaza pancakes. She wants her Dominican food.
Literally,
not American food, but food is a universal language.
Exactly. Yes.
And when we are away from home, food is what brings us comfort.
Exactly. I went to London, and there was this Dominican man who looked like he could be my uncle, and he had a little shop called La Bodega, and he had Johnny cakes. Y eran así de grande los Johnny cakes, y yo, wow, could not believe it.
Wow. And now I remember it was the book discussion of Dominicana, which I haven't read.
Which I'm gonna read because I have to sort.
Are you an ebook reader?
No. I really like physical books, but what's the thing is that I was in between countries for a very long time. So I wasn't in El Censo de Yolanda and I wasn't in El Censo de Aruba. And now, because I had to disenroll from school because I graduated, now I'm working back on, stabilizing all my papers in Aruba. So getting my medical card, my driver's license, and then I have to get an American address and open a certain account, and then I can order things again. Because in Holland, it was very easy to just get things to your door. But in Aruba, it's like,
so you need like those messenger service.
Yes, I need to sort my legal stuff, my documents, because I also want to start shipping my own books again. But I also want to keep ordering my books like I used to, because Para Cenar Habrá Nostalgia, I ordered it when I was in Holland. Corazón by Jessica Salgado, I ordered it all. But then when it came to,
that sounds like very much a huge process.
Yeah, when I came to Aruba, it was like either I have to order through someone else, because I really wasn't there para inscribirme en el censo, tener todos mis documentos. So now that I'm there again, I do have my list of books that I'm gonna buy. So I'm looking forward, yes, because Para Cenar Habrá Nostalgia, I take it to every poetry night. I always introduce people to
I have an order here because I usually gift them. That's a book that I give as a gift to people all the time.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And it was very much
I tell her, Fior, not because I published you, but I love this book.
No, it's so beautiful. And anytime I feel kind of lost, I go to a Dominican writer. But I also, like, sometimes I do feel, though, that I do feel like sometimes it's very in between the lines. It's very like, at some point I did started to feel like, okay, it's all bachata, y mango, y plátano, and everyone's writing about, salami and brugal. And then I was like, a part of me was like, maybe and then when I'm homesick, I'm like, no, this is exactly what I need to read. 10 people.
You have not been reading the Dominican writers that we have been suggesting. We have a book club. Whenever you have time, join. Yeah. Go on our website, join the book club. We only read Dominican authors, and we are talking about all kinds of subjects.
Okay, yeah, because I do feel, and I think maybe it's because of the little circle that I follow where everyone touches common themes.
Yeah, no, we are not only writing about those things. Like in Dominicana, Angie Cruz touches on a lot of important topics that Dominican women who are immigrants face, and it's also a universal topic for any immigrant Dominican woman. Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. My goodness, my God, you have to get that book.
No, I'm going to, but this I tell you, with the Poet X, someone ordered it for me. Someone ordered it for me as a gift when we were friends. And then, this is why I say I didn't want to publish, because this person apparently fell in love with me because of cold coffee. And it was just a whole creep situation. And bottom line is that I didn't get the Poet X.
No.
But I do follow as much as I can and read as much as I can online. But it's not the same as having the book.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna order.
I totally get you. I have Mira, I don't know if I could show you like my bookcase.
Wow.
But the top row is all Dominican authors.
Yeah.
That's my kid when he was young. He's 12 now. Yeah, let's.
And even if the whole drama happened and it's super problematic or whatever, I still very much do feel that I need to read Junot Diaz for the culture. I feel like I have to read it. I have to read the Oscar Waula, if something like that. Because I just think like even if all the drama happened, it's still like such a cultural landmark, So
it is. It's a book that opened many doors to us, and that many of us can relate to. And I always say that his books are a reflection of who he is as a person and his own experiences, because they are. And I also feel they're books that you could use to teach, about those problematic conversations, those topics that we should be having, because the book touches on machismo and you know, misogyny, and those are topics that we definitely need to speak about in the Dominican community. Like, we have the highest rate of feminicide in our country. So yeah, let's address it.
With me and my poetry as well, of, you know, violence coming from women, because Dominican mothers, they can be quite abusive and no one wants to talk about it. It's so normalized that your mom calls you una pendeja o pedazo de pupu or something, and we think it's the norm, and it's just not. So I really do think that, you know, there's a lot of space in the...
Is that what you're going to put in your book?
There's a lot of space in the Dominican community to talk about this shit, because the way Dominican women treat their daughters is like, you know, this is an unpaid internship. I did not ask for this. I did not ask for this. Like, oh my God.
I agree.
You know, and
an unpaid internship. Okay.
And it's so generational as well. It's like, well, you had it bad, but you don't know what my mom did to me.
Yeah.
And then her mom, oh, yeah, but
yeah.
It's like,
we're trying to compete to see who got it worse.
Yeah, it's like the struggle Olympics.
Just exactly. Oh my God. Yes, yes. Bueno, Yakari, I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. This recording will be available on our YouTube for anyone who has missed it and who wants to watch it later on. Do buy Yakari's book. As she said, you could go on Amazon.com, or you could hit her up via Instagram or Facebook, and she will send
My Instagram is just my name. It's just Yakari Gabriel.
Yeah. If you want the ebook version.
Okay.
If you want the ebook version, just hit her up on Instagram or Facebook, and she would send it to you after you pay the $7.
Yeah, and even also, like, even if you know, because a lot of my followers are very young people. You know, sometimes they're just students, sometimes they're just 16, and I'm like, between us, if you really can't afford it, you know, and you just really want to read it, I'll send it to you. Because what good does it do if people cannot access the work? Exactly. So even, you know, and more with the coronavirus thing, a lot of people are really struggling. So if you need some quarantine reads and you cannot afford the $7, no judgments. Just tell me and I'll send you the book.
And Yakari, please continue to stay safe, you and your family, and keep us updated on volume 2 of Code Coffee.
Well, sure. And I'm coming to New York. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if we can make it for this year still.
Whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Pero para allá vamos. A gozar la vida que rica y deliciosa.
I will tour you around Washington Heights.
I'm ready. Isn't there where Cardi B is from?
She's from the Bronx, but her family.
No, but she said she grew up her early days there.
Yeah, she grew up between Washington Heights and the Bronx. You a Cardi fan too? Because I know that you rep for Nicki.
Yeah, the thing is, I like Cardi as a personality. I'm just very disheartened by some things that she says. And again, I love her. I adore her. I would love to meet her. But I do think, you know, she should, you know, follow some activists and stop being so problematic. But it's definitely amazing to see a Dominicana thrive at the level Cardi has done it. I think she is the first I think she's the first Dominican woman to win a Grammy for rapping. And she, you know, she has been very groundbreaking. Por esa boca, Dios mío, que no se para.
Because she's very young. She's learning.
Yeah, of course.
I have faith that she will mature.
Yeah, I just want her to pay more respect to the craft though, because she's really comfortable going out there saying, oh, I don't care, I just want to make hits. And it's like, you know, there's a lot of people out there who really mean it with their writing, you know? So I think, you know, we should be friends so I can teach her to be a little more mindful, but I'm very happy for her success and what it means to Dominican women.
Thank you so much, Yakari.
Thank you for having me. You broke my Zoom virginity. Now I know what it's like.
Yes, now you know what it's like, and you're welcome to join any of our many Zoom events. We have so many workshops that we do via Zoom and book author events. So I think the next author that we have having a conversation with is Roberto Carlos Garcia, and Roberto Carlos is the author of Black Maybe. So he is, of course, a Dominican writer, but he writes a lot about our ancestry, our identity, and he's also a poet. So you're welcome to join us that day. I don't remember what day it is, but it's on our website.
I follow you guys. I'll look. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good evening, everyone, as well. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.